Morningstar Investor Conference. So let's, without wasting any time, straight away cut across to that conference, and Nikunj is right there. Nikunj, take it away.
Thanks, Sasha. It's always exciting to be part of this mega Morningstar annual conference. The who's who of the mutual fund industry, they come, they showcase their thoughts, and the idea really is to get conversations going around which are the best funds to buy, which are the best asset classes to bet on, which theme, sector, ideas or clans are likely to do well in coming years. And we are glad to be partnering with Morningstar for this mega conference. The India head Aditya Agrawal now joins me to walk us through what the contours of the conference are. And this year I've been told that you have a jam-packed attendance, record attendance, 1200.
Absolutely. So we're really excited by the number of participants that have been going to our conference every year. And this year we are really thrilled that we have got over 1,200 registrations.
That's because of the bull market, right?
Yeah, of course, thanks to the bull market, but I would also like to take a lot of credit because of that. We really focus a lot on the agenda, on the content that we put in. We really emphasize on the speakers that we get to speak at the conference. So one of the ways like our conference is really unique is that we do not offer a pay-to-speak model. Like most conferences in India and otherwise allow the sponsor to speak as a matter of right. We have a very different way of selecting our speakers. Sponsorships are different. So it might just happen that one of the sponsors is also speaking, but you'll find that majority of the sponsors are not on the speaker list.
The conference starts with the keynote address from Mr. Uday Kotak.
Yeah.
Now, why should a banker be part of a mutual fund conference?
Uday is a visionary. Like he conceptualized the opening of a private bank when India was still a closed economy. He owns a mutual fund company as well. He owns an insurance company as well. So it's not that he's only banking. And ultimately, see, the financial services space is still one. So you can't kind of separate mutual funds out of the financial services space. So I think Uday will add a lot of value to the conference by opening the event.
There are a series of panels. There is a panel where you have marquee investors like Prashant and Naren. Rhythm is also expected to make a presentation on where the markets really are headed higher. So what should our viewers look forward to? Which could be the most engaging and the exciting session?
Well, I think the entire 2 days would be very, very exciting. So yes, we have dedicated a significant amount of time discussing about the equities market. So we have Rhythm Desai, we have these fund managers, Prashant, Narayan, Anup Maheshwari. Then we have another panel wherein the top 10 fund managers, like the 4 of the top 10 fund managers as per the ET Morningstar ranking are talking. And then we also have value investors like Ramdevji and Sunil and Saurabh kind of speaking as well. So plenty of discussions on the equity side, but we are also delving on the fixed income space. We'll talk about asset allocation. We'll talk about behavioral finance, the application of behavioral science in making investment decisions. So Sanjay Bhattacharya is making a presentation on adaptive markets hypothesis. And Jason Voss, who's flown from the US, he'll be talking about creativity in making investment decisions. So I think these will be like really interesting conversations.
The success story for Indian equity markets has been that finally the naysayers have turned believers. And when I say naysayers, the retail investors are coming back via the SIP route. Do you think the trend of this entire SIP culture, which is still at a very embryonic stage, because looking at India's economy, India's potential growth and the size of the economy, 5,000, 6,000 crore on a monthly basis is not a large number. Will that be the messaging at this conference, that the SIP culture is here, has started and it is here to stay?
Absolutely. So the SIP culture has started. A lot of people get confused between a mutual fund and a SIP. Like SIP has become like so popular. But I completely agree with you that in a country of 1.3 billion people, 1.6 crore or something like that, SIPs will not really, is not material enough, and it needs to kind of grow further. But you look at the penetration of mutual funds today. I think the mutual funds industry are doing all the right steps to kind of increase penetration. But at this point of time, probably 1.8 crores or 2 crores investors, that's really too small. That number has to grow phenomenally. And for that number to grow phenomenally, even financial advisors have to grow phenomenally. So I think at this conference also we'll be talking about like how do we really lay a roadmap in terms of the growth of the advisor community, because the more number of advisors, we need advisors across the length and breadth of the country to be able to handhold investors and get them into the mutual fund fold.
So a couple of follow-up questions. There is a lot of debate which currently is centered around whether small caps are small caps overpriced, and in the next 2 or 3 years, is it time to switch? Is it time to go back to the classic, Franklin Blue Chip or ICICI Prudential Focus Blue Chip or HDFC Equity? These schemes have underperformed their counterparts because mid and small cap stocks have done well. So what should be the messaging for this?
So that's something that we'll be discussing over the next 2 days.
As a house, you make a view, right? Because you analyze sharp ratios. Your team does a great job of analyzing which fund manager has underperformed, which scheme has managed to beat the benchmark, and also if I have to give simple advice, Aditya, what should retail investors do? Buy small cap funds or buy large cap funds?
See, my personal opinion, would be kind of focus more on the large cap fund at this point of time. Mid cap seems to be kind of overpriced at this point of time. But when we speak to mid cap managers, they are able to really identify and see a lot of potential there as well. So it's kind of hard to say without really understanding the risk profile, the investment horizon as to whether large or mid is better. So when you invest into mutual funds, you look at a long-term horizon, and not just a long-term horizon, you also look at your risk appetite. So mid caps might be kind of volatile. If you have the appetite to kind of see your portfolio going down 20%, 25%, you could still go into it. But if you are a little more conservative kind of an investor, I think large caps would make more sense.
Over the years, my experience has been that you should never ask a fund manager for a market outlook. They are always bullish.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we should expect to hear a lot of bullish voices. What about the bears? 1,200 participants, 1,200
registrations have come in, yes. And when we compare this to our US, the Chicago conference is the biggest conference where we get 2,700 people. So we are at 1,200. We are the second largest conference that Morningstar runs.
So in terms of market size, in terms of economy, we are nowhere close to US, but in terms of the registrations,
we are kind of moving that side. Yeah.
Okay, good luck, and I look forward to really enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Nikunj.
Aisha Tanvir, for the moment it's back to you. About 1,200 registrations, but what I've learned over the years that if you are at any fund manager conference, remember, fund managers are programmed to stay bullish. Like Buffett said, never ask a barber if you need a haircut, he'll always say yes. So if you ask a fund manager for an opinion, it will be bullish. So viewers should prepare for a lot of big picture analysis and a lot of bullish opinions.
Oh, most definitely, and I think Morningstar is the hub where those bullish opinions will converge all day long today, Nikunj. Thanks very much for getting us that